Obviously, you don't want to lose football games, and it had been a while since you had gotten to Indianapolis. You, of course, want to win the Big Ten championship. I'm not saying you don't, but I think you could also make the fair argument that you still have everything in front of you. And if anything, I said it in my preview and prediction video, you could make a very fair argument Ohio State needed this. They needed to taste their own blood. This roster needed to see what it was like after months on months on months of not having a talent roster to see at eye level. The last time they had faced a team of this caliber was Texas to start out the year. In Indiana, clearly, I don't need to explain to you how Indiana is a better football team than Texas, but I'm talking about the talent rosters. This was the first time that they were at eye level for Ohio State in months. What I have on this piece of paper is a score of the Indiana Hoosiers beating the defending national champions, the Ohio State Buckeyes. Curt Cignetti, take a bow, man. What a remarkable run for Indiana football. What was seen as a Cinderella run, a one-off, one of those years where they caught a break in the scheduling and they caught fire, has turned into a juggernaut of a program, and I don't expect it to stop. Indiana football is not just a team that is going to be here for the moment. They're going to be here for quite a long time. We can officially say Fernando Mendoza is the Heisman. He had the moment. It was the last things we saw. It was the last thing we saw for the entire weekend. It was the last thing the voters saw. Now, personally, if I was picking the Heisman, I'm probably voting for Diego Pavia, but I understand Pavia is not the most liked guy in the world. And I got to call a spade a spade. What Mendoza was able to do in this game, yes, was it 13-10? Was it ugly? Was it a defensive battle? All of the above. But when you needed the guy to make a play, he made it. Beautiful NFL level footballs. I mean, I have Jets fans texting me saying, that's our guy. That's who I want to be leading our franchise. Fernando Mendoza was incredible. 15 of 23, 222 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception does not justify his performance. This is the definition of you do not want to be box score watching when talking about this game for Mendoza. Sure, was it a Heisman level 400 yards, 4 passing touchdowns, 0 picks? No, it wasn't that. What it was enough to beat what was seen as a team that was above everyone else, the cream of the crop, a cut from a different cloth in the Ohio State Buckeyes. This was a team coming off of a dominant win in Ann Arbor. People were assuming, when talking about the national championship, you would start the conversation, who do you believe could win the national championship outside of Ohio State? That's how the conversation was going because of how dominant this team was. At every single level, you had an All-American, Arvell Reese, Caleb Downs, many others on the defense, McDonald. Then we go to the offense. You have a young running back in Bo Jackson who's extremely good. You have a Heisman candidate at quarterback, the 2 wide receivers. Do I need to keep going? This was a freight train that got stopped by the Cignetti train. Or that got halted by Cignetti. I mean, truly incredible work. 1967 was the last conference title by the Indiana Hoosiers. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the 27-yard field goal by Ohio State to tie this game. And if there's one thing I can say to that, what do college kickers do? They effing miss. That is what they do. A 27-yard field goal, which is seen as a gimme in most countries, in most states, is not a gimme in the Big Ten championship. And I think if you're Ohio State, you take this with a grain of salt. Obviously, you don't want to lose football games, and it had been a while since you had gotten to Indianapolis. You, of course, want to win the Big Ten championship. I'm not saying you don't, but I think you could also make the fair argument that you still have everything in front of you. And if anything, I said it in my preview and prediction video, you could make a very fair argument Ohio State needed this. They needed to taste their own blood. This roster needed to see what it was like after months on months on months of not having a talent roster to see at eye level. The last time they had faced a team of this caliber was Texas to start out the year. And Indiana, clearly, I don't need to explain to you how Indiana is a better football team than Texas, but I'm talking about the talent rosters. This was the first time that they were at eye level for Ohio State in months. And I think this is the exact thing that they needed to go on a college football playoff run as they await for the result of Texas A&M versus Miami. I will say you can make a fair question about Brian Hartline's play calling. I think that is a fair sentiment to have and question, as you, very much like the Philadelphia Eagles, can have questions about how you have A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Saquon Barkley, and a solid enough quarterback that if, as a play caller, you have all the ingredients of a kitchen and you're still burning the cake, the signs and everything gets pointed at you, you get some blame for that. So I think it's completely fair to question Brian Hartline a little bit. I bet if you're a USF fan, kind of a little worried about that. Don't love that when the guy that you have just hired to be your head football coach just lays a giant egg in the conference championship. Yeah, Sean Ryan, let's talk about that. We're done talking about the Big Ten championship. I talked about it earlier too. The fact that Notre Dame, they don't even deserve to have their name pronounced correctly. Norder, that's what I'm going to call them. It's Charmin Ultrasoft. Not playing in a bowl game, like, it is a trend that I do not want to see in college football. It was one thing to have players opt out. It's another thing to have entire organizations opt out.